Is this that JPP podcast?
Did Kevin see this Cowboys win coming? Did LJ care too much about obscure rules? Which team in the AFC West is truly surviving adversity? All that and more this week on Just Press Play.
The red wasp is excavating. Pregnant ladies and little kids better get the hell out of the way, because I am running. I'm like Forrest Gump, dude. I am running. So, the Titanic was the biggest ship on the ocean, but that didn't mean it was unsinkable. Okay. All right. I want you each to use ombudsman in a sentence next week. I got one for you. My name is Kevin, the official ombudsman of the Just Press Play podcast. You like apples?
Welcome. Here we are back. The gang is all back together. We got Tone, Pops, LJ. What's up, guys?
Oh, you know.
What's up?
Just another week.
And we got another episode of the Just Press Play pod. I wanted to first start off with Pops and Uncle Tone. I appreciate y'all holding down the fort last week for the NFL pod. I thought it was pretty good
it was
stuff.
great. It was great.
Appreciate that.
I enjoyed the update on the Razorback Football League.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure we may have to get into it because I'm sure now that we've done an update on the Razorback Football League that everybody is going to want to know how y'all's fantasy league is.
Absolutely.
All 10 other people that are in the league or however many people are in there care, and then no one else gives a damn how y'all's league looks. But I'm glad we were able to spend 10 minutes on that. That was cool.
You're welcome. That's old school, man. We don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. We're just talking to ourselves. It's old school. That's 10,000 listeners right there, man.
But guys, I think there's only one way to start this episode off, and that is to talk about clearly the Super Bowl favorites in the NFL, the very own Dallas Cowboys. Guys, gosh. What the hell is going on? Now, I want to start with that Thursday night win against the Saints last week was huge. But can I just start with me and LJ over the holidays while we weren't recording, we were having a conversation, and I laid out for LJ. We were basically we just laid out, we looked at the schedule, and we talked about what's really going to happen.
Yep.
And not only did I call this Philadelphia Saints win, because it's what the Cowboys have to do. They got to get everyone to buy in on national TV, make a big-time win, and everyone's talking Cowboys for maybe dangerous Super Bowl team. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to just crash and burn. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to lose to the Eagles, which opens up that division race. Because if they beat the Eagles this Sunday, then they pretty much wrap that division up with, I don't know who the Redskins are going to run out at quarterback.
Ryan Mallett, I heard, by the way.
Oh, wow.
I heard they're looking at Colin Kaepernick. They're looking at Kaepernick.
Well, I haven't heard that. I've heard that they looked at him and said no. That's all I've heard. So the Redskins. Yeah.
But here's what they do. They find a way to lose to the Eagles, and then they end up they go into the final week of the season, 8-7. They probably what's going to be dumb is they're going to beat the Colts, good win, and then lose to the Bucks or something in week 16. And then week 17, all they're going to have to do is beat those lowly Giants, who are actually kind of fun to watch here recently. And they're gonna lose to Eli Manning in Meadowlands on week 17, and somehow Mark Sanchez is going to backdoor into the playoffs, or Carson Wentz gets in. I'm just telling you, Cowboy fans, it's happening.
Well, you're saying the Cowboys won't make the playoffs?
They won't make it. They'll find a way. I've done this. I've been through this song and dance too many times. I know how this ends.
So are you implying the Cowboys don't make the playoffs and the Clapper gets an extension? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
So if they don't make the playoffs, I think the Clapper. If they don't make the playoffs, I don't think the Clapper gets an extension. So I'm kind of like, maybe this is my heart hoping that it's our way to get away from the Clapper. But They should. Now, I will. Let me just backtrack, and then I'll throw it over to y'all, because y'all talked about this last week, Pops and Tony. But that win against the Saints, y'all talked about how the defense was going to get a real test, and we thought the defense was decent, a solid defense, and they showed up in a huge way. I want to start with you, Pops. What do you think? Are the Cowboys for real with the way they showed out on Thursday? Never mind the jokes.
I think the defense is for real. That defense showed up, and that defense played really well. I mean, they shut down the future Hall of Famer, the potential MVP of the league. They shut him down, made him look like, Mark Sanchez. And he just didn't look that great. And so the defense really showed up. I don't remember Amari Cooper doing. Gosh, it's been so many. I've lost a few brain cells since that game. But it wasn't like the Cowboys' offense looked fantastic. They did just enough to win, and that was defense. The defense of the Cowboys is for real. That's what I'll say to that.
Tone, what do you think? I'll let you respond to that.
Well, I'm trying really hard again not to get too much of this Kool-Aid, but
not that Kool-Aid's starting to taste good, isn't it?
No, man, that's crack, man. That's crack.
It's the chapstick of football.
Okay, there you go. The thing that the Cowboys showed on Thursday night was how fast their defense has become, and it started becoming that after Double Hammy took a seat. So when they did that, they changed the way their defense was structured. You saw the younger guys, Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch, they were really out there, really flying. When they started,
they play so well together.
Yes, they did.
The defensive back started flying, and the Cowboys got lucky in a few calls. It was not a well called football game. But when you're at home and playing defense, that's what you're looking for. It's just, man, offensively, they are just not good. I mean, that's the 31st ranked passing defense in the NFL, and oh man, it's terrible. Amari Cooper I made a 30 or 40 yard play, and I was talking to another person about this. Oh man, he's got speed. Look how far he went. Yeah, he made that. It was a 10-yard curl. He makes his living curling to the outside, and once he makes that curl, he can dash 20 or 30 yards. He can't beat anybody deep. Great route runner, phenomenal. I'm starting to get more respect for him while he's motivated. But man, if you can't dominate the Saints in the air for at least 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, man, your offense is in trouble. Now they're great on the ground, number 1 on the ground, just about. But man, I tell you, that offense really needs some help. And last thing I will say that was impressive about the Cowboys is they made 2 plays there in that fourth quarter. The first one was the 3rd and 10 scramble by Dak Prescott.
That was a play.
Yeah. And we've talked
on the drive that he later fumbled.
But I'll tell you what, I talked earlier in several podcasts ago about the guts of the Cowboys. And they didn't have the guts to go for it on 4th down. They didn't have the guts to game plan. That was a gutsy play by Dak Prescott. That's what you want him doing. That's what you need him to do all the time for him to win. Unfortunately, he doesn't do that all the time. He's not given that opportunity with the game plan that he's given. He still can't throw the ball deep, in my opinion. It's going to be tough for them to.
Well, he should have had that deep throw to Michael Gallup that would have sealed the game and made it a 2-touchdown game and missed him. Mm-hmm. But LJ, is there do you want to throw water on any of this Cowboys talk? Or
we know it's the NFC East, so it doesn't matter. The only thing I know is Leighton Vander Esch is for real. That dude is. Yeah. You guys talked about the defensive rookie of the year, and he's up there on that list. No, I mean, you guys mentioned it for sure.
He's bringing back the neck roll back there. I love it.
Yeah,
he's good.
You got people talking about. I think all of high school football now should go 8-on-8 like they do up there in North Dakota or Montana or Saskatchewan, wherever the hell it is he's from, and go to that because man, this kid can fly.
Yeah,
he's on it, and
he plays real football.
Know what?
It's awesome.
As much as I hate to say it, that's 2 really good draft picks that the Cowboys have at the linebacker position.
Mm-hmm.
Good for them. I hope Rod Marinelli stays when we have a new head coach, and that'll be great.
So I did want to throw out just when y'all were talking about the defense and Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith playing together, there was one thing that just to lament how good they're playing together. And let's not forget DeMarcus Lawrence is really cementing his name as one of the best pass rushers in the game right now. He's going to get a huge contract this offseason by hopefully the Cowboys, but we'll see. He's earning himself a big paycheck. But there was that play, I think it was in the first half sometime, where eventually the Cowboys held him on 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. But on that 3rd down earlier in that drive, you see him throw the ball out to Kamara in the flats, and he makes the corner miss. And against any other team in the NFL, that's a touchdown. But Jalen Smith, who is freakishly fast at linebacker, gets out there and makes the hit, makes the tackle, and they end up stopping him. There's just something about that defense that I think when games get cold, And like LJ loves a good defensive game. They could make some plays and run the ball with Zeke. I just think there's a few throws that Dak doesn't quite make that scares me a little bit about them going down the line.
I think the hardest thing for them now is what happened last night. The Eagles may have awoken, and the
Eagles do play the Texans and at the Rams in their next 4. So the Cowboys may luck out there.
And I'm trying really hard to believe in the Texans, but the Eagles
9 in a row
may have a shot. But yeah, that Rams game is probably going to take them out. But we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, yeah, I crossed the Cowboys off on the playoffs a long time ago. And then as a fan, I would love to be wrong. But then I do think if the Cowboys make the playoffs, then we're looking at we're going to see a lot more hand claps in our future. But I'll throw it over to you, Pops. Let's go straight into our buy segment of the week, our buys. And are you buying the Cowboys, or who are you looking at this week?
Actually, I am buying a team that one of us really likes. I'm buying the Denver Broncos this week. And I'm buying the Denver Broncos.
I thought they might be a hot item this week.
I'm just telling you that Philip Lindsay, is it Philip Lindsay, right? I know.
Yes, sir.
I get mixed up between Patrick's and Phillips some. I've noticed that.
I've noticed that as like a world thing, by the way. I was watching the game and Patrick Lindsay was called out for a couple runs. And so I think that maybe Phillips are forgettable and Patrick's are memorable. Like maybe there's something there.
No.
Anyway, go on.
Because of Mahomes.
Fill up the pish, man.
But Lindsay is amazing. By the way, I just looked at some of his stats. He's ran for 154 rushes, 937 yards, 8 touchdowns. Royce Freeman, who was drafted, to be the guy,
3rd round,
96 rushes for 397 yards and 5 touchdowns. Lindsey's got a 6.1 yard per carry average. Freeman's got a 4.1 yard per carry average. Both pretty legit, but 6.1 trumps it. And then you've got Emmanuel Sanders showing out on the edge. I don't think the Cortland Sutton hasn't shown to be what we thought he might be.
He did all right today.
But he did all right
this week.
But man, you've got Von Miller and Chubb on the edges, one with 12 and a half sacks, one with 10 sacks. That defense is still pretty legit.
Pretty nice.
Now I will say to temper you a little bit though, Chris Harris being out for however long it's going to be is huge.
Okay.
Probably a year, right? Didn't he break his leg?
Well, they didn't put him on the IR. I think they're hoping that they can pull him back in for the playoffs if they make it. But I think the thing is they've got time to. If you look at their play or their schedule coming up, the only game that they should lose is San Diego. So they've got some time to deal with getting him back in the game. So we'll see what happens.
It is interesting. And me and LJ definitely had this conversation. I think Pops even said it a few weeks back too. I don't think they're a threat to win the Super Bowl at all, but boy, I don't want to play them in the playoffs. If I'm the Chiefs or any other good team in the AFC, I do not want to play the Broncos. It's hard to beat a team thrice too. They're frisky. Yeah. And the Denver and the Broncos played the Chiefs as well as anybody, maybe other than the Patriots in the AFC. So real quick, since you brought up Philip Lindsay, Dad, and y'all talked about offensive rookie of the years last week.
Yeah.
And Philip Lindsay, interestingly, if you compare him to, and this just aids my case, and we can maybe get into this because LJ did a bunch of math earlier, but Philip Lindsay just once again aids the case of why would you? I think Saquon Barkley has been amazing. I love watching him play, but Saquon Barkley gets taken whatever he was, 3rd overall. And if you look at yards per touch, just catches and rushes, Lindsay averages 6.3 yards per touch. Saquon Barkley averages 5.8. If you look at how often they move the sticks, Lindsay gets a first down every 3.4 touches. Barkley gets a first down every 4.3 touches. And then if you look at touchdown rate, Philip Lindsay gets a touchdown in every 19.9 touch, and Barkley gets a touchdown every 22.4. He has beaten them on every single category. And this is a guy they got undrafted, paying him nothing. It's just running backs. I think Barkley's amazing, but running backs, you can just find them if you have a good scout, and if you get a little lucky, you can find a good running back here and there. And Lindsay has just been awesome.
As a huge Philip Lindsay fan, I mean, you saw I made a whole giant spreadsheet based on the idea of I wanted to prove that Philip Lindsay is the most valuable player in the NFL. But I will say that the chances that you get a Philip Lindsay as an undrafted free agent, I mean, even all 32 teams called him as soon as the draft was done. The chances of picking up somebody like him or, Breida, who can't play a single healthy game, picking up one of those undrafted free agents that's going to turn into a world burner. I mean, I think there was 100 undrafted free agents signed this year.
Right.
And only 2 or 3 first round running backs signed this year. I mean, you got a much better chance of getting somebody that's going to make a big impact on your team in the first round than you do as an undrafted free agent. So like, I hear your idea of like, let's just, screw this idea of picking early.
Well, and I'm not saying don't draft a running back. I just don't think you draft him in the first round. You take your chance, like what the Broncos did, getting Freeman and Lindsey. One of them hopefully hits, and Lindsey did. And Freeman's not been bad.
Yeah, don't sleep on Freeman. Freeman's going to be good in the next couple of years. He's the counterpunch. But
are you talking? Are you saying we got a little thunder and lightning going on in Denver? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's coming.
I think we might.
Oh my gosh!
And for cheap.
All right. Y'all remember that was work done and
TJ Duckett?
No. Peyton Hillis or somebody. It was work done and some big old back. I can't remember
Mike
his name now, but that was thunder and lightning. Mike Allstott, that's it. Work done and Mike Allstott.
Oh, wait, you're talking about the Tampa Bay work done.
Thunder and lightning. Hey, now I will say this on Phillip Lindsay. The thing he's got going against him right now, he's not getting the carries, but Saquon Barkley is the back in New York. And Phillip is splitting carries with Freeman. That's a tough thing to do. I wonder I don't know if you'll have him now, but if you had the stats for Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake produces more per attempt than I think, as far as production, than perhaps anyone. And because he's only getting 9 to 12 touches.
Correct,
a game.
but Lindsey also has about the same amount of yards rushing as Barkley. It's not like
then that's very true.
Drake has maybe 700 yards on less carries.
But I think that is
Lindsey's
the thing.
Producing. I get what you're saying.
I think the point is that you have to game plan for Royce Freeman, which gives Lindsey a little bit of an edge when he does get to touch the ball. You got to game plan for both of the guys.
That's a good point. But yeah, check out Dominic Rhodes' stats back from 2001. He might have been on some Bonehammers team back in 01 that set all the records for Razorback.
Before we get into Tony's 2001 fantasy team,
which we could, as well as Phillip Rhodes, or Phillip Lindsay.
All right. Well, I know LJ's probably just
I had to get it in.
Well, the LJ's probably just ecstatic to hear just how good the Broncos are. So we'll just go right over to him on this buy. What are you buying? Are you drinking that Bronco Kool-Aid, or do you have something else?
I absolutely am, but they're ranked pretty high now on our spreadsheet. So I'm thinking the lowest the Vikes are ever going to be is probably right here. I think they're a much better team than they're ranked right now, and so I'm going with them. But also, yes, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid 100%. Give me the Broncos for free. I just don't think they're worth the money right now.
That loss to the Patriots didn't deter you at all?
No. A lot of teams lose to the Patriots. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, that's true.
So we, Kevin and I looked up some stats while we were out. I wanted to prove that Ben Roethlisberger is the worst quarterback the more you give him the ball. And, turns out that's not true. I just, open and honest. He's really good when you give him the ball more times. But, we threw Tom Brady and he broke the graph. Like, it was ridiculous. Those Patriots are they're good football players. I don't know.
Yeah. Like LJ put this whole graph together of like quarterbacks records when throwing the ball. I think we did 40 plus times or maybe 45, whatever it was.
We did it for five.
We were trying to
pass increments. Yeah. Up to
so
40.
we were trying to prove that when Ben Roethlisberger throws the ball more, the Steelers are worse. And actually, Ben Roethlisberger's numbers were pretty good.
They are, but every team is. When you throw the ball a lot, of course, it makes sense that you're behind. That's why you're throwing
Tom Brady was...
He was 10% above everybody in every category. It was ridiculous.
So here's my only question on this is, I brought this up last week. So LJ, is it Ben Roethlisberger sheets or Ben Roethlisberger PJs that you have? Which is it?
Well, I've got both, but I don't bust them out very often,
Oh, because let me know. Because if not, I got something in the mail for you.
Your Steelers, your Big Ben Steelers had another crushing loss on Sunday. Yeah. We might get into that a little bit.
I'm still not sure they make the playoffs. Yeah. I'm still not sure.
It's dangerous. They're Jekyll and Hyde for sure each week. You never know what you're getting. But Tony, I'll toss it over to you. Who are you buying this week, Tony?
I am buying the Kansas City Chiefs. And the reason I'm buying
bold. That's bold. That's bold talk, Cotton.
Now, let me tell you, it is bold because and the reason I'm buying them now, and we've talked about them all year, and the generational talent that's at quarterback. But what happened Sunday is I saw them survive a storm of adversity. You know,
against John Gruden's Oakland Raiders. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, anytime, I don't think you understand. As a Broncos fan, I think you should. How much hate there is between the Chiefs and the Raiders.
You're right.
It goes a long way back, and it is always tough for the Chiefs in Oakland. And for them to go in and win that game, they didn't make the spread, but they won that game. Completely had to redo their game plan. We'll see how Spencer Ware does. They'll probably have a different type of game plan going in because the Hunt thing happened on Friday, so they didn't get to retool anything. But for them to be able to go into that game without Hunt for the first time and actually play really well, and Patrick Mahomes again pretty much took over that game. And it is the Raiders, but you know what?
Yeah, I mean, so you're buying him after they gave that high level defense for Kansas City gave up what 30 plus to
the only team that's given up 30 points to the Raiders. Yeah. But defense doesn't matter.
Defense doesn't matter. They are not a lock. Let me say this because of the team I bought last week, the Chargers. They are not a lock to win their division. The Chargers are on a roll. Both of them have been hurt at the running back position. Looks like to me the Chargers are a lot better off with their backups than Kansas City will be. But we'll see. But I'm still buying the Chiefs because of their ability to go into Oakland and win that game.
Also, I don't know. Is this bold? I'll take Keenan Allen over Tyreek Hill all day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think there's an argument to be had. I don't think it's crazy bold, but that's an argument for sure.
Well, they play different games, but not that I listen to a lot of podcasts other than JPP, but Matthew Berry on Monday, they were talking about Keenan Allen over the weekend, and if you see their podcast while they're doing it, it was fairly interesting. His parody of them trying to Pittsburgh trying to cover Keenan Allen, or just deciding not to cover him. It's like, let's cover everybody else but Keenan Allen. And so
this just in, let's not put a linebacker on Keenan Allen.
You know? Let's just not. Let's just let it go. Let's put this Hulk guy, this 57, on Keenan Allen, and let's just see what happens. Yeah,
I did see. Anyway. I think the argument there is that that a cornerback isn't going to cover him anyway, so you might as well get somebody that can tackle him once he's caught the ball.
I guess
I'm pretty sure when Philip Rivers sees a number 50 guarding Keenan Allen, he's just going to close his eyes and throw it. And I mean,
that's how he got to number 9.
He's going to throw it sidearmed and hurl it. Yeah.
And look concerned.
My goodness, 9 kids. Can we talk about that real quick? Philip Rivers and his wife announced they're going to have a 9th children. That family can field a football team. I mean, that is insane.
I'm buying on the Rivers football team.
That's crazy. Yeah. Again, like I said last week, I was talking to Lift. Not that LJ and Kevin have an experience with this, but you know, when there's a bunch of kids in the house, get the fuck out. You know, it's like. You know, it's like, hey, I got to go. I got to go earn a living. I'm sorry, babe. And they were talking about it. He's got a 74-mile commute every fucking day.
Wait, I want to let you guys see.
If I had 8 kids at home, I would go on a 74-mile commute every day.
Speaking of his commute, I know I've heard rumors about how he has this amazing minivan and stuff and that he uses to watch film while he's on his commute. Let me show you. I'll send y'all a picture after the podcast and even put it in the show notes. Oh my gosh. The inside of his minivan has 2 recliners, a 50-inch TV. Yeah. It is beautiful inside of that thing.
It is amazing. It. Let's just put it that way.
No.
He ain't driving it. Yeah.
He's sitting back there drinking a scotch while he's watching a movie or something. I don't know what he's doing, but it is amazing. It's like a home theater in the backseat of his
he's got
minivan.
9 kids. I know what he's doing in the back of that van. Yeah. Jeez.
Alrighty. And so segueing over to that, we'll finish off the buy segment, and I am buying a team. I think I've already actually bought them. I just realized this. I think I bought them earlier. This might not work, but
don't.
I'm buying the Patriots. I'm buying the New England Patriots.
Did you buy them already?
I was gonna.
Yeah, you've actually.
I'll take the Chargers. I'll buy the Chargers then if I haven't bought them, but I probably bought them too because I'm a big Joey Bosa fan.
I mean, if Dad can buy Houston for every other week, then I think it's okay for you
Houston every other week.
Okay. Well, then Dad bought Deshaun Watson so he could have Houston and Deshaun Watson last week. So I'll buy the New England defense, and I'll tell you why.
Oh my God. Okay.
I think this defense has been crappy all year, and I think they're slowly, all of a sudden, starting. Bill Belichick and the Patriots do this every year, and around December they kind of figure out their way, and all of a sudden, don't look now, they're only 1 game behind the Chiefs for that number one spot in the AFC, and they have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs since they beat them. If the Patriots mess around and have home field advantage in the playoffs, and you have to go through Gillette Stadium and that cold weather, we just like we talked about the Cowboys, I've seen this song and dance too. Tom Brady's been doing it since I've been watching football. He finds a way. He's going to get – I think they find a way to get into another Super Bowl, and I don't know if they win it because I just don't think Tom Brady's the same guy as he's been, but he's still really good. We might
have to bring back that thing from me last year where it was like he's got to start losing before you can stop talking about him being the GOAT.
Yeah. and did you see Tom Brady just eclipsed 1,000 yards rushing? It only took I forget how many games it was. But,
but did you say – okay, so let's talk about the pettiness of Tom Brady real quick. He kneeled forward
yes, I love
so
it.
He didn't lose a yard.
And then he pointed to the ref to make sure the ref saw, hey, look where I kneeled.
Oh, God. It's like the worst kind of guy. I mean, successful, so you can't be too mad at him, but jeez.
Well, hey, Kevin, that's a great pick. Two things, though, about the Patriots defense. And, Adam Thielen had his worst night of the year.
What's what the Patriots do? They take out your best player.
One guy. So they scheme for taking out that guy. Now, you always think, okay, it's going to be their number one guy. Well, it's not always. They pick one guy and shut him down. And I don't know how Bill Belichick does it. Magic, I don't know, voodoo, devil worship. I'm not sure what's going on, but he does something that figures out how to do these things. And he's
time and time again.
Damn it, he's good at it. And it's just pisses
They're going to figure
off,
out what your best thing is, and they're going to make you play like we said before. They make you play left-handed, and come playoffs, it's fun to watch. But
they're going to take it out.
We'll go over to you, Pops, for this week's who you thought they were for this week.
Well, who I thought they were is a team that I talked about way back at the beginning, but I haven't said they're who we thought they were yet. But this team is the number 2 passing defense team. They're the number 3 rushing defense team. They're the number 1 overall defense in the NFL. They have a new quarterback named Lamar Jackson. That would be the Baltimore Ravens. And they're who I thought they were. They're one game behind Pittsburgh.
It's a good football team.
They're actually only half a game behind Pittsburgh now. I think Baltimore is going to make the playoffs this year, and they're who I thought they were. And I'm just that defense. Defense wins championships. I don't think they're going to win a championship.
Does it? Did you not watch the Super Bowl last year? Did you watch the Super Bowl?
You watch and see. Defense wins championships. They're going to do it this year.
I'm with you 100%.
I'm again you, Liv. I'm again you.
If you remember, I think there was somebody, I can't remember the person that did it, but 3 weeks ago said Lamar Jackson's going to come in and win 3 in a row, and they bought the Ravens to make the playoffs. I forget who said that.
That was also me.
Someone said that. Oh, well, maybe we were all on it, but and they do have a tough game. I'm really interested to see what
Uncle Tony's not on the Ravens, is he? Is Uncle Tony on the Ravens?
No,
I'm interested to see to what we see this week because the Ravens will play the Chiefs. I think I don't know. I think it's in. I don't know where the game's at, but that'll be a fun game to see what they can do there.
Yeah.
LJ, who's who you thought they were this week?
All right, I got one that might extend a little bit, but the idea is the NFC East guys, can nobody keep the Cowboys out of the playoffs? Like, you had one job, all three of you.
That's a good one.
And you had no way to stop them from getting into the playoffs. And then the other thing is, like, you can't hate on the Redskins too much for having injuries. Like, that sucks. But they're calling in Ryan Mallett before they call in Colin Kaepernick. It's just frustrating that the NFC East is, I think, the worst division in football, and that's including some college divisions. Potentially, just as far as competitive nature goes, it's bad. It's not good.
I want to say that. I want to agree with LJ. I want to agree with him so much. I don't know how hard this is not to agree with him that the NFC is the worst. But if you look, last week, the Giants beat
Chicago with a backup quarterback.
They took an Odell Beckham pass to do it. The Cowboys,
who's got more passing touchdowns than Peterman now?
Yeah, the Cowboys. We'll talk about that in a second. The Cowboys beat the Saints, and we keep bashing the NFC East. But you know what? Maybe we shouldn't. I mean, as bad as we thought the Giants were, they've now beaten the Houston Texans, right, and the Chicago Bears. How bad are they really?
They beat the Texans before the Texans got rolling.
Yeah.
And they beat the Bears with a backup quarterback.
Yeah, they beat Houston.
Yeah, your argument
Frank
when they
Wright
beat the
gave
Texans
Houston
was that was one of the
life.
worst football teams you've ever seen live, and now your argument is like, well, that's a quality win.
No, I know. It is really hard because I was like, the Giants are not that good, and then the Giants just waylaid Houston, and now they've won 9 in a row. Apparently, according to Kevin, because Frank Wright can't coach his way out of a paper bag and goes for it and gives them a chance, and now they're where they're at. So I'm really torn about this. This NFC East deal, right? We keep bashing them, but by God, they keep winning these games against these other divisions, especially in the second half of the year. I don't know what it is. It maybe like they all got together and said, look, guys, we got to get our shit together and get moving. But I'm just not sure anymore. I used to be like LJ, damn right. Hell yeah. I'm all about that. But I don't know. This weekend, I don't think you could say that the NFC is the NFC least. So,
Okay.
All right, Tone. Well, while you got the floor, we'll just keep it over there. Who's your this week's who we thought they were? Are you bringing up the NFC East or
no? Okay, so I'm going with a guy, and Kevin, I hope I'm not stealing a stat from you. Josh Allen.
Go for it.
Okay.
Oh, I think I know what stat you're going to go with. I love it.
Who is the number one quarterback for the last 2 weeks for a quarterback rate? Who is it?
You tell me.
Josh Allen.
Is it Josh? The human joystick? The new human joystick?
Yeah. Who started the season for the Buffalo with the worst quarterback ever? Kevin?
The Buffalo Bills.
Well, Nathan
Peterman.
Yeah. I think the quote is, all 4 of us have a better quarterback rating than Nathan Peterman. But here comes Josh Allen. All of a sudden, wow, just amazing. And here's the news. Kelvin Benjamin was released today.
Yeah.
So they are now moving on. And if you're in Vegas after January, or after February, a 2019-2020 futures on the Buffalo Bills for the AFC Championship might not be bad.
Whoa. AFC Championship?
Okay.
I will say
the good news is he keeps his house for like 3 years this way, so that's at least relatively nice.
Your boy Josh Allen, though, did you see he had 9 carries for 135 yards. He averaged 15 yards a pop.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Never in his whole collegiate career, he's never run for that many yards. He set a new personal best, 135 yards.
Did y'all see? Speaking of stats. According to Next Gen Stats, they tracked how much he ran in all of the game, including
I did see this.
All rushes, and then how much he ran, but before he threw it, he ran a total of 812 yards traveled on Sunday. Holy
Give
cow.
the man a ride. Good God.
Yeah, get him off his feet for a couple of days.
Yeah. I wonder if he's got somebody in his corner like Rocky had. Rock, you gotta save the legs, Rock. You gotta save the legs.
Well, I'm gonna stick right on
Rock.
I'm gonna stick right on with that thought of quarterbacks for who we thought they were this week, and I'm gonna go with, and Tony touched on him a little bit ago, but Patrick Mahomes is who we thought he was. You know, he loses his. Okay, I'm just saying they lose their big running back with Kareem Hunt. We all know what happened. I think we're gonna get into that in just a second a little bit more, but. Mahomes just once again, that defense sucks. I get that. And maybe that could be who we thought they were, is their defense is atrocious. But Mahomes just week in and week out throws for 4+ touchdowns, 300+ yards. It's been amazing to watch. And then this guy, Scott Casimir on Twitter, he's an NFL writer, and he pointed out this stat. There's games of 4+ touchdowns, 4 touchdowns or more since 2004. Patrick Mahomes has 7. The Bills, Panthers, Bears, and Titans all have 7. The Browns and Cardinals are both at 6. The Dolphins and Rams are both at 5. And the Ravens have 4. The Jets have 3. And the 49ers have 1 game since 2004 of 4 or more touchdowns. And Mahomes has 7. And let me just go ahead and, for anyone who doesn't know, that's all this year. He's all done it just this year. That is incredible.
What's his total touchdowns right now?
I think he's over 40.
I think he just got to 41 or something.
He's over 40, dude, I think.
Brady's number is going to go down.
Yep.
I never thought. What was it, 52?
It was 50.
I think it was 50, wasn't it?
50, 51?
Something.
It was north of 50.
God, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. No.
Man, I'm telling you, with 4 games to go, and here's the thing that's going to help him. If we're talking about that record, if he has 3 touchdown passes in the next 4 games, that's 12. That's 52. If they lose to the Chargers, they're going to have to continue playing through Week 17 and play all 4 of those games in order to keep either a 1 or a 2 seed if they lose to the Chargers. And so he's going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to reset their game plan. They don't have that elusive back anymore. Maybe it changed up, but could you say that he's not going to throw 3 touchdown passes on average over the next 4 games?
I mean, yeah, I think we talked about their running back a little bit, and then also they who knows how long Sammy Watkins is out, so now they're just working with Kelsey and Tyreek Hill at this point. Yeah, I don't think this is the same team that started there. This is the Raiders that they got 4 touchdowns on. Guys.
Yeah, no,
they've done it against everyone.
Yeah, they've done it against everybody.
Yeah, but this is a different team than it was a week ago.
Yeah, but you brought up Sammy Watkins, Mr. Bronco. The thing is, Chris Conley is actually doing a better job than Sammy Watkins was. This is
against
the
Raiders.
Just stepped up, and that's kind of against. Well, he did it the week before. It's just that they seem to be able to plug and play, and I'm not. I took them. You know, it's a big game against the Chargers next Thursday night, and just it's big. And as long as they don't overlook to that game this weekend and get surprised, it's such a huge game, and that's the 3rd huge game they've been a part of this year with the Patriots and the Rams, and now this Chargers games. And man, I don't see how he doesn't break the record. That's
I think you have a point. They could overlook the like we talked about with the Ravens. That Ravens is a tough team. If they overlook them to the Chargers, I'll be interested to see. We'll see. Only time will tell whether maybe LJ's right and that was the Raiders, and they are a crappy team.
Here's your prediction: 2, 5, 3, and 3 touchdowns. 2, 5, 3, and 3. 2 touchdowns against the Ravens, 5 against the Chargers, and then finishes 3 and 3 touchdowns.
Okay, you're wrong. Okay, go ahead.
So we got to touch on it, and we mentioned a little bit the loss of Kareem Hunt and the effect on that team. And if we shared our thoughts on the last pod, me, Pops, and LJ. And I did want to give you, Uncle Tone, a second to respond. You're kind of a resident Chiefs fan. At least I know your son is a big Chief fan.
Yeah.
After he got cut for that domestic violence issue, I just wanted to give you the floor for a second to tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, and the move to cut him is the right thing. And I do believe he'll probably be back in the NFL in tears. I think the NFL has learned from the Ray Rice incident and the Hardy incident. This kid's 23 years old. The 3 points I want to make. One, and you guys touched about domestic violence. It's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the one thing I want to say is the first one is here's a 23-year-old kid who has probably never been taught right from wrong, that's wrong. And that's a societal thing. And I don't know how else to say it. I'm not trying to make this a racial issue or a poor versus rich issue. There's some folks right now that type of behavior, there's no right, no wrong. And he does have some history with it. There has been another report of him attacking a man. He got in a fight with a guy in January.
Saw that video.
So now that's come up. So there's a little bit of pattern there, but not knowing. And how do we get to kids like this who have a type of future to say, hey man, understand what's going on right from wrong. His collegiate career, he has a roommate, he travels with a team, he's got a coach that can come down on him. It's different than when you get into the NFL. And this brings me to my second point. And I think part of this belongs on the heads of the NFL. We're giving, and you talk about it, we're giving these young kids millions of dollars, and they've never had the opportunity to understand how to make these kind of decisions. I don't understand why, for all players under 25 years old, they don't have some type of mentor or buddy or somebody that says, look,
Herm
man,
Edwards talks about it every year. Yeah.
Don't leave this guy's side. We have invested $20 million, $10 million, $5 million, $1 million. It doesn't matter. We've invested in this kid. He's made the roster. He's under 25. Follow him around. Know exactly. He's got to call you before he goes to bed at night. When he wakes up in the morning, you're going to watch him. That's your job. We're going to pay you $150,000 a year to watch this guy. And Yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money, but how much money does the NFL make? It's ridiculous the amount of money the NFL is making. It's worth it just to get somebody or get some type of system involved to watch these kids, at least until they're 25 or 26, until they've had the opportunity to figure out what's right and what's wrong. And then this is my final point. Damn it, you've got to pick a better entourage, man. Johnny Drama doesn't let this shit happen. You know what I'm saying? Johnny Drama doesn't let this shit happen.
My man E wouldn't have let this happen. Yeah,
he doesn't let this happen. She doesn't get in the room. Kareem should have picked a better entourage. Man, hey, Dr. Liff and I know you got to understand. You got to protect the moneymaker. And when it's 5 o'clock in the morning in New Orleans, Louisiana, by God, you're not leaving the moneymaker side. You're going to make sure the moneymaker gets home. I woke up with scratches on my legs and a really bad headache. Not as much as Jim McGee, but by God, the moneymaker made it home. And you've got to have an entourage. You've got to do that. And you've got to have a trust system around you. And so anyway, that's my rant for that. I appreciate the time.
Hey, I want to say I agree with like 80% of what you say. I just wanted to throw a little pushback on he didn't know any better for, whatever reason, the way he grew up or whatever. I don't buy that. I think that's baloney, but everything else you said, spot on. You're absolutely right. So just want to throw that out there.
And that's, I certainly respect that opinion. I just, watching kids grow up, I've been coaching youth baseball for a long time. I've seen kids come through. Man, you see them get dropped off. Mom's not there. Dad's not there. You just see it coming. It's like, who are these guys? I mean, who are they looking up to? Who do they have an opportunity for somebody to tell them, hey, look, man, don't do that. And that's just a tough situation.
The problem is a lot of these great athletes, they're brought up throughout high school and college, and they get people to pass failed tests like in school, and they get babied, and then all of a sudden they get held accountable when they're older. Regardless,
that point of like getting millions of dollars, after having nothing. I mean, that's very valid.
I've talked about with Johnny Manziel's downfall. I thought if someone would have thrown me millions of dollars and put me all over TV and let me go sit backstage with Drake and LeBron, I'd have probably got my head pretty big too. So the money is hard, and I hate for him. I hope he learns from it.
Grew up rich, so yeah.
All right, moving on to our final segment of the game we play. We'll go into the playoffs, and since I'll keep mine short, since I missed last week, I'll throw two for you. The fighting Hue Jacksons, the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm crossing them off the list because I read a report that the owner's not leaning towards firing Marvin Lewis. I think Marvin Lewis sticks around another freaking year, unless they try to move him to GM or something.
How do you fire him at this point? What is the thing that causes you to fire Marvin Lewis?
What pushed him over the edge now?
I think
he is who we thought he was.
I think he resigns. I think he's going to pull the Ohio State coach's name and resign.
I've heard that he might kind of, it's like a mutual agreement where he moves into a management position and resigns from coaching. But then that allows him to kind of handpick the next coach, which, as y'all mentioned, he has a buddy. He has a buddy on the staff named Hugh. But either way, and then the other team I'm crossing off the list is the team a lot of people may have watched on Monday night, regretfully. They're the Redskins. I'm crossing them off. There's no shot anymore. They had the NFC East wrapped up. It's funny how 4 weeks can change. The Cowboys were dead in the rights. Eagles, people forgot about, and they were a Super Bowl hangover. And the Redskins just needed to win, go 500 the remainder of the season. They lose 3 straight. Now their quarterback, they have had terrible luck. I feel real bad for Colt McCoy. That sucks. He can break his leg. And
props to Mark Sanchez for reviving the butt fumble. So that's pretty cool. And I think that's interesting, Kevin, because I was just thinking that's probably the third time on our list of people that aren't making the playoffs that we've cut somebody because they lost a quarterback. And so, I'm all about the quarterback is overrated, but every week that somebody goes down, one of us is like, yep, they're out, So.
And I just think the Redskins in general, the Redskins as an organization, I think is a joke. I read Mark Zuckerman, who covers them for Washington, said that for the 27th consecutive year, the Redskins will not win 11 games. Every other franchise in the NFL has done it at least once in that span. And then how oblivious they are to the Reuben Foster signing. And they said they talked to all the Alabama players on the roster. And then those guys said we didn't. And then Bruce Allen had the audacity to tell Lisa Salters on the Monday Night Crew that they did their own investigation into Reuben Foster. But then we heard that they didn't even talk to the Tampa Bay police on what happened before he got cut. It's just, I think they're a joke of a franchise, and sometimes it sucks being a Cowboys fan, but at least we're not a Redskins fan. I will throw that out there.
Yeah, there's no way that if the Redskins don't make the playoffs this year, that Snyder, he's going to clean house. There's just no doubt about it, in my opinion. Jake, I think Gruden is gone. Bruce Allen is gone. He's going to clean house if they don't make the playoffs. Hello, right, Jerry. Pops. Did you hear that, Jerry? Jerry, did you hear that?
Speaking of not making the playoffs, Pops, who you crossing off the list this week?
Well, I had it to 2 teams, but I'm going to cross off Atlanta, and they've got their starting quarterback. They didn't lose a quarterback. They have an all-pro quarterback, but they can't win a freaking game. And they got beat last
well, that
week
offense their offense has been okay, but they hadn't been quite the same since Shanahan left.
And they can't stop. Of course, they lost to, was it Tampa Bay, I think, that beat them this week, wasn't it? Which is the number 1 offense.
No, Tampa beat Carolina.
Tampa beat Carolina? Well, who was it beat Atlanta?
The lowly
it was somebody lowly.
That's I was switching back and forth on that game. I didn't watch it until I saw that Atlanta was beat. Actually, I did take that game.
Was Atlanta it the Ravens? Did the Ravens beat them?
Yeah, it was the Ravens.
Was it?
Atlanta was a home favorite 2.5, and I
took the lowly Ravens.
No, it wasn't the lowly Ravens because but Atlanta. The other was Green Bay, and they'll be probably my pick next week. But and we need to talk about Mike McCarthy in a little bit. But Atlanta's going to be who's not making the playoffs.
All right, El, who are you crossing off the list?
I got to give us 2. So I'm just gonna stick with everybody that Hue Jackson's ever touched, and so the Browns will not make it, and the Cincinnati Bengals without AJ Green aren't gonna make it. So pretty easy. I love it. Pretty easy picks.
The Hue Jackson effect.
Yeah.
He's got the opposite of a green thumb. Whatever that man touches organization wise, it just dies. All right, Tone, who are you crossing off?
The San Francisco 49ers. Because they only got 2 wins, number 1. But
another bold move by Uncle Tony.
Well, they're close in that division.
Yeah.
Tony, hate to tell you, you've already picked them, buddy.
Oh, have I? Okay.
What? Yeah.
Well, okay. I've already picked them. Well, good.
Yeah, you picked them in week 7.
You were smart a long time ago.
Look at me go.
I was going to pick Cincinnati. Have I already picked Cincinnati?
I don't think you picked Cincinnati. I don't see him on here.
I'll pick Cincinnati.
I've got you free for Cincinnati.
That is a hot mess. And
it is.
Yeah, you've got Dalton gone. You've got Green gone.
When I watched that game, I saw the numbers with Green in and with Green out, and it's just unbelievable. Yeah. It's like an extra 200 yards a game, and it's like 3 extra wins per every 5 games or something. It's ridiculous the difference Green makes on that team.
Yeah, it's tough. And I will say, when a team is done, just to get back to the 49ers, when a team is done, when they take a healthy RB1 out of the lineup to let Jackie Wilson Jr., or whatever the hell his name is, run the football, an undrafted free agent out of Wakamaka or wherever he's out of, to see if he can run the football. That's when you're done. Next thing you know, they'll be trotting Jerry Rice out there to say, well, we want him to play 1 game. So anyway, they were done. So
yeah, the Bengals are done. And all right, Pops. Well, you brought it up a second ago, and I'm sure they'll be crossed off a lot of lists this week. I think they would have been on my list. I was just crossing off like LJ anything Hue Jackson's touching. But Mike McCarthy is now out as the Green Bay Packers head coach. I think the writing was kind of on the wall. We knew this was probably coming. It's a little bit of a shocker to see it done a la Brett Bielema at Arkansas, fired right after the game on Sunday. It seemed like a ton of people a ton of ex-coaches were shocked by this and said that he should have gotten better. I'll just toss to you, Dad. What were your thoughts on the firing of Mike McCarthy?
The only thought I really had, he needed to go, but I think McCarthy has been a pretty good to that franchise, and I think he deserved to finish out the year. What difference does it make? I just don't think they should have fired him in the middle of the year like that. He's not a Hue Jackson, or probably any number of coaches I could probably think of. Let the guy finish out the year, fire him at the end of the year, and start over. It's not like you're going to get somebody in that's going to make Aaron Rodgers amazing, and we're going to make the playoffs. So I just thought the way they handled it was wrong. It needed to happen. The timing is out of place.
To your point, I think maybe I usually, like we've mentioned before, and I know LJ's big on this, and I'm in agreement almost every time. I don't like firing the coach midseason. Just let it finish out and do it later. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if they said that they were seriously considering Joe Philbin, who has some ties with Aaron Rodgers, been there a while, and they said they're seriously considering him for the head coaching job. So maybe if you do want to kind of give him a little 3-week, 4-week run to see what he'll be like as a head coach, maybe I get it. But for the most part, I'm in agreement. Mike McCarthy, for whatever's gone wrong there, they've been to the playoffs a lot, and maybe a lot of it is due to Aaron Rodgers, and I think it is. But still, I don't think you're getting ahead of anybody by firing him 4 weeks earlier. Just let him finish out the year.
Wasn't Philbin the guy that was at Miami a couple of years ago?
He left Green Bay to go to Miami,
and he was thoroughly unimpressive at Miami. I remember.
Agreed.
I think he was on Hard Knocks one year, and he impressed me about as much as Hue Jackson did. So I'm just not sold on Joe Philbin, but
he's a down to earth. Why is this guy coaching football kind of guy? I mean, I think he could probably be the defensive coordinator for Georgia Polytechnic. He's just one of those guys that gets on and you look at Joe Philbin and you think, okay, yeah, where's he got the chitlins? It's just it's just that guy. So, but he's
interestingly
nice
about Mike McCarthy. Nice. Interestingly, I think if you look back and everybody has Andy Reid in a nice light and a good light now, but if you look back at when Andy Reid got fired at Philadelphia and where McCarthy is now, their records and their playoff history, it's pretty similar. And I think maybe McCarthy, he'll land right on his feet, probably have a job next year. I've heard the Browns are rumored. Maybe he just needed whatever it was between him and Aaron Rodgers just didn't work. And
not if Bruce Arians doesn't take it.
Yeah. And Jeff Saturday talked about it in that when Rodgers was younger, that McCarthy would give him the call and Rodgers would roll his eyes during the play or during the huddle. And now that Rodgers is even older, you just can't have your star, your veteran, the leader in the locker room clashing heads with your head coach. Yeah. And I think it's one of those things. Sometimes it's best for a marriage to end. And I think for both Aaron Rodgers and the Packers and McCarthy, it's just better that they get part their separate ways. And they'll probably both be better.
I want to say, Kevin, I've heard a lot of rumblings that Aaron Rodgers is not the easiest guy to play for or play with. And he's supremely talented. There is no doubt.
Well, it's almost like coaching LeBron James. When you're coaching the best player, the pressure falls on the coach a lot more often. And that's tough. It's tough to coach.
He's going to fall on his feet. He'll have another job, I think, next year. Yeah. He's a good coach. It just they needed a change in Green Bay.
There are some interesting job openings right now between the Browns with, as Pops mentioned last week, a ton of talent on the Browns roster. And then the Packers, I mean, you might have the best quarterback in the NFL. There's some interesting openings that if I'm a coach, I'm at least going to throw my hat in the ring. Yeah, obviously, they're not considering Kevin, but
there's two things.
They might not too, but
two things about this McCarthy firing. You bring up Joe Philbin, and they are looking at him. And one of the stats that I saw is Aaron Rodgers' best statistical year was 2011, and that was when Joe Philbin was the offensive coordinator. So he's obviously comfortable with Philbin and what he does. And then the second thing is, I call this the Nolan Richardson. McCarthy said 2 weeks ago after the loss, he said, I just need to coach better. Don't ever say anything about your coaching. Nolan Richardson said, if they want my job, they can have my job. I'm coaching. Don't ever say anything about, I just needed to coach better. Don't do it. And that he said it, that just gives you an air of, man, this guy has lost his confidence. You can't have a guy who's not a leader leading a team. And that statement, I need to coach better, when he said that, I thought, man, and it happened sooner or later. It would have been nice to have the respect for him to be able to, to move all the way through and get through the season and then be gone. But they want to take a look at Philbin. They want to get a head start on something else. And, Jerry Jones was lambasted by the way he got rid of Tom Landry. And, what are you going to do? He's got
an interesting candidate that I could see maybe that I'm pulling this a little. I've heard maybe a few other people. I thought it. But you mentioned Urban Meyer retired at Ohio State. Last time Urban Meyer retired from a program, he fell right on his feet. Urban Meyer and Aaron Rodgers would be an interesting combination. Just throwing that out there.
I tell you what, I wonder, Urban Myers probably has to take more psychedelic drugs than any other college football coach in the country. Have you ever noticed that? This guy is worried about everything. I mean, he left Florida because they found him in a fetal position in his office, right? Just like, I can't deal with this. And so he has a tough time. Maybe not a fetal. I don't want to slander anybody. Let me back that up. Hannah, if you could give me a disclaimer on that. But he left Florida because of a panic attack. He's leaving Ohio State because he can't handle the pressure. So, hey, good for him. I wish I could retire with $20 million in it. Fuck, I'd have been out 5 years ago. Man, I'd be playing golf on the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I'd have my house in Aspen. I'd have my cabin down on the Little River. Dude, I'd be having a great time. But
well, let me ask you this, Tony. Yeah. Would you hire a guy that's quit 2 jobs because he couldn't handle the pressure? No way. I'm hiring.
Well, not in the professional.
Can I throw something else out there though? I think
not in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that college football is more pressure coaching than pro football, in my opinion.
I don't think so.
Because
I agree.
Why do you think that?
Well,
first off, recruiting 18-year-olds to try to do what you need them to do on a daily basis instead of having veterans in the locker room that can lead you in that sense. And then also, the buck stops at the head coach in the college football game, whereas you have coordinators you can blame things on in the pro football game. And you've also got quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers as opposed to
college football
whoever's
fans
a 22-year-old this year.
While I love college football fans, they are vicious fanatics, and it's tough. Yeah. And you lose a couple of games, and all of a sudden they want you out.
Yeah. To back LJ up on that, I agree with him. If you're a top 5 or top 10 program, there's probably more money in Alabama than there is at the Patriots. I mean, if you think about the boosters, that is a pressure job. And then everybody trying to Auburn, Clemson, you name any of those folks, Ohio State, Michigan, there's a lot of pressure there. I agree with that. Now, I disagree with the point of it's harder to give scholarships to 25 players and try to get 6 of them to be really good than having 7 or 8 draft picks and trying to get those guys to be good. I think it's tougher to get talent in the NFL than it is to recruit.
Yeah, but you don't have to in the NFL. You don't have to go to somebody's house. You just say like you're on my team now instead of going to somebody's house and trying to convince their grandma that they should. Well, that's true. Come to your side.
Hell, if Nick Saban walked into my house right now, I'd go play for him.
Well, hold your breath because he might be coming soon. He might be coming.
Yeah, do you still? I think we all still have eligibility, right? We talked about that like a month and a half ago or something. But
everybody but Keith Smith, he's already tried out. He got cut, so we're all good.
All right, El. Before we wrap this sucker up and put a bow on it, did you have anything you wanted to add for this week?
Well, I just wanted to throw in that we almost saw my favorite penalty in all of football this week. It's the palpably unfair act. Did you see anything about this?
What?
Say that again. The what?
Okay. The palpably unfair act. Okay. So what happens here is there's this rule that essentially says, for the most part, if the opposing team does something that is not in the rule book, but like clearly a penalty, then the refs can basically do whatever the hell they want. So like an example of this is like, I think it was the 54 Cotton Bowl where some dude runs in and tackles some guys. He's running down the sideline and it should have been a touchdown.
So there's not a clear penalty
in the NFL rules. Right. So the refs could have awarded him a touchdown for that play. And so we almost saw it this week. We were so close.
Oh my gosh.
The Chargers-Steelers game, they could have just awarded him 3 points instead of making him kick it another time had he missed it.
Yeah, that is great. I did not know that was a rule, and now I really want to see this rule done.
Great pull. That's right, because the three offsides calls. You're right.
Well, because the way. Okay, so just for the listeners that didn't see the game, potentially, I don't know why you're listening to this, I guess, but if you didn't see the game, the Steelers were trying to make sure that the Chargers couldn't win the game with a field goal, and so they jump the snap and the kick is missed. So they move it up 5 yards.
Offsides.
The Steelers jump the snap and the kick is missed again because of a block this time. So they get to move up 5 yards and do it again. And then they jump the snap so well that he actually flies by the kicker instead of blocking the. And so what the rules specifically states is when you break a rule so many times in a row, to try to give yourself an advantage, the refs can warn you once and then award what they expect the outcome should have been the next time. So they could have warned them the second time.
That would have been fantastic if they would have just said, all right, Chargers, you get 3 points. This is ridiculous. We're going home.
That's good.
That's also, by the way,
and then Big Ben would have been on the Pittsburgh radio this morning just complaining.
I don't understand.
That rule also has the answer to one of my favorite quandaries I've ever had in football is what happens. So you lose when you're too close to the goal line, you give up half the distance to the goal, right?
Right.
And so I've always wondered what happens when you get like so small of a number that it's like, okay, so here's a quarter of a yard. All right, here's an eighth of a yard. Here's a 16th of a yard. Well, apparently, according to the Palpably Unfair Act, you can just give them the touchdown at some point.
That is
just
incredible.
once you decide it's negligible. Yeah. So we almost saw it, and I just wanted to bring that up and share it with the world.
Wow.
Anyway, that's all.
Can I mention real quick? I love LJ comes through with some awesome stuff. I've never heard of this rule, but now I'm rooting for it to be called so bad.
Palpable. That's a great
I
word.
want to bring up on that game when they went off sides 3 times. I don't understand the part of that. I get what you're saying about the Steelers doing it over and over again, but the refs, if you watch that game, the refs didn't call us. They missed that false start, which was the second time the Chargers got a touchdown off a blatant false start.
Yeah.
That thing was so blatant. That guy took 2 steps before the play started. And then the rest of the game, they were letting, I don't know if it was a makeup call, but the Steelers were jumping snaps the rest of that game. And it looked like they were close a lot on offsides.
Yeah.
And they weren't calling anything. And they weren't calling any false. Basically, the line judge was letting them do whatever they want. And then all of a sudden, on the last play of the game, and then if you go look it up, interestingly, that San Diego Chargers long snapper is twitching the ball and makes him jump. And I remember some team in Dallas did that and got penalized and lost the game for it. It's it's just wild what gets called. And then someone pointed out on Twitter, a former player for, I think it was the Browns, pointed out that this guy is known for this, and he brought it up to a ref during their game, and the ref was like, nope, it's not enough to call. But this guy's known for twitching the ball to try to get you to jump. It's just interesting to me.
Yeah, I always thought when they were doing it, when they were doing that, I really thought that Tomlin was screwing with the refs to say, I know I'm going to lose this game, but y'all lost it for me back in the third quarter. Screw you. Screw you. Screw you.
Yeah.
He's looking at him like, what do you want me to do? Call offsides.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
That was absolutely ridiculous that they missed that false start. That was so blatant.
That cost me $47 on my bookie, right? Because if they don't score that touchdown, the Steelers cover. Gosh, dog, man, come on, ridiculous.
Oh man, LJ, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, speaking of long snappers, so I think Tony was writing, I think you called out the 49ers this week, right? Or no, you called them out many times now. But their long snapper was suspended for 10 games. So, I think if anybody didn't have them now without that long snapper, they're done.
He got suspended for 10 games for PED.
10 games. I don't even know why, probably. That's the only thing I can imagine.
What
but
the hell does a long snapper need PED for?
Oh my god!
You
got to make sure those
just
fingers
trying to stand up quick enough.
Come on, man. That's
just trying to make sure nobody jumps over you. That's your job.
You suspended 10 games for PEDs, and you're a long snapper. Come on, man.
Yep.
All right, Dad and Tony, y'all talked about how Quentin Nelson and that offensive line for the Colts has become fantastic. Yeah, and the yelling. And y'all mentioned that he doesn't get sacked much. There's this crazy stat from earlier this year where Luck went 214 straight passes without being sacked, which was the longest streak since 1991, which was actually previously held. I don't know who this is. Maybe y'all know of him. Mark Rypien of the Redskins.
Mark Rypien, yeah. Rypien. Yeah.
Well, but what's more interesting is that what's more interesting that Luck went 214, which is incredible. That's a long streak, especially for a guy who, if you remember earlier, just 2 years ago, they couldn't keep the guy upright. He was getting killed left and right.
Absolutely.
But the person that held that record prior to Mark Rypien was someone you may have heard of named Daniel Marino for the Miami Dolphins.
Daniel Marino.
And listen to this crap. It's still the longest streak ever of not being sacked. He went 759 straight passes without being sacked. So I went and looked. I was like, that is so long. How many games is that? He was sacked on September 25th, 1988. And his next sack wasn't until October 29th, 1989. A whole calendar year without being sacked. Holy crap.
Why the hell did he have so many knee surgeries then? Jeez, Pete.
I guess that has to do with his really quick release. Isn't he known for having a really quick release, I guess?
Quickest of all time.
That was just incredible that he went over a calendar year without a sack. That is wild.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Y'all mentioned that offensive line and how they've done so much better, and I had to share that with you guys. And y'all were pretty good. Pops was killing. I don't know if I have a job much longer, as y'all kind of claim me as the host, and Pops was killing the host and stats. I mean, it was amazing.
Hey, you should have seen the steam coming out of his ears trying to keep up, though. As I said to close that podcast, as good as he was once, but how did that happen? He's not as good as he once was, but he's as good once as he ever was. So I'm telling you, man. Maybe twice.
I'm telling you, we know the line of secession now.
Maybe
if Kevin has to drop out, we know who's number 2. So
we know. It's just
the big old number 2.
I've always said I'm the shit.
I think the saying that Tony was throwing out there may be able to work for both of them.
I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was.
All right, well that'll do it for this week's episode. We got all the guys back on it. It was fun. The train's getting a little bit off the tracks here, so we'll call it a day.
All right.
Thanks for listening, and make sure you subscribe. Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace. MyBookie.
MyBookie.ag. All right. Okay. So
I played the wrong thing. I meant to play this. Yes, sir. DJ Funkenstein.
Dr. Funkenstein has some stuff for you here now. So, first of all,
he's got them in vinyl too. You can't just email it to you.
You gotta go vinyl.
Hold on. I don't know if you can see this. Let me get my Big Chief Indian pad out.
Big Chief Indian pad. I heard that.
Kev, I got this committed to memory, dude.
Big Chief Indian pad, and the number 2 pencil. You gotta follow with the number 2 pencil, or it doesn't count. All right. The bar case. You got to have some bar case. There's no funk.
Cover.
There's no funk without the Memphis funk. Proposition is one of their best albums. She talks to me with her body. You got to get that track, man. She talks to me with her body. It's awesome. Okay. Next one, bar case, Night Cruising. Pretty cool. That's got Hit and Run.
That's the Barcades I know.
Yeah.
Hit and Run.
It's time for the all Barcades radio.
Okay.
Look out for the funky snippet coming later this week.